Welcome to Attican Plays Railway Empire. All right, hi, this is Attican and welcome to another Railway Empire video. We are going to take a look at Black Gold. Go back and play it with the new characters and the new functionality, or at least through mid-January of 2019. And so Black Gold is set up in 1890. And we start out in Kansas City with very little money. A couple of competitors will set them on very hard. And it's all about really oil. Black gold is a euphemism for oil. So in the last one I put out, which is the Vulture, I kind of badmouthed the general and said, well, he's pretty weak because he gets a great track construction reduction, but he has to pay more for tunnels and bridges. And he does have this little ding for hiring staff. But let's talk about the general for just a moment. The hiring staff is only a 10% bump on the hiring fee. So there's a little fee that you pay when you hire somebody. It's not a tremendous fee, and it's just a little bump that gets there. So that's not a big deal. The tunnels and bridges, first of all, I tend to never build a tunnel. You never say never. I will, when the occasion calls for it, to get maybe an express line or something like that. But generally speaking, I avoid tunnels like the plague. And bridges, of course, we try to build the shortest bridges and as few bridges as possible. So we can work our way around this one pretty much and take advantage of his track construction costs and build some nice big long lines, maybe get some good express lines going, something like that. So we're going to give the general a try and play him on Black Gold. And mainly because I insulted him last time, so I want to make it up. All right, so let's take a look at what Black Gold really entails. So we start here in Kansas City. And one thing to note, the first oil well we see is out here near kind of northeast of Amarillo, which is quite a ways from Kansas City. But that's the first one we see on the map. Let me see if there's any more actually showing at this point. Yeah, there's one right here, which hadn't even come up. See, that doesn't even exist yet. That we can see that's going to come later. We can tell. So if we're doing this flow of goods, it tells us there's one there, but it's not there yet. So that tells us something's going to happen. An event's going to happen. It's going to trigger that bad boy to pop up. Right here, is this the same thing? Yeah, same deal. That doesn't exist yet, but it will. So there's going to be some oil over here. On this side, okay, yep, all right. Where were we? Flow of goods, oil. So I've never bothered to do this, but this is actually not a bad exercise to check out where is the oil on this map and where is it going to be. Okay, there's going to be one right here eventually. Just, this is Dallas, so just to the west of Dallas will be one. And is there any more? And then there's the one we saw up here. So that's the oil we're going to have, but there's only one right now, and that's right here in Amarillo. Oh, here's one over here too. There's one. Okay, great. There's one here. There's one here. Well, there's one here. There's going to be one here. There's going to be one here. So this area right in here is a great way to get your oil. Okay. Let's see, what else do we need to know? Let's just see what our tasks are. We have to grow Kansas City in 1892, and we start in July of 1890. See, it's something we've already run through a month, but we start in July. So we've just got the last half of 1890, and in 91, 92. So 2.5 years. So in 1.25 years. So let's see, June of 91. So the end of September 91, we need to be done. So a little over a year, we've got to double, basically, Kansas City. Not too bad, but we've got to stay right on it. We saw that from the Vulture. You got to stay right on it to hit that one for gold. Connect 6 cities, no problem. Build a lot of rails. General will be perfect. Move a lot of oil. We know where the oil is. Produce oil. So we're going to want to buy those oil wells when they pop up and probably upgrade them as we go along and get our oil production up. A nice quarterly revenue from freight. That won't be a, well, that'll be a challenge, and that's where you wish, where's Don Lorenzo when you need him, get that freight bonus. Produce a lot of oil, so we're going to have to own those oil wells, pretty much all of them, and upgrade them quite a bit. Transport a lot of oil, no problem, and connect a bunch of people and produce petroleum. So the petroleum's interesting. Now, a bunch of people just means we need to expand. We can't just sit back and look at our oil. We've got to continually put new cities on this. So we'll probably run a lot of express lines. Well, we've got a freight revenue, so we're going to run a lot of lines between looking for, of course, beer meat lines and feeding the beer and meat industries, and then watching for other industries to pop up and feeding them to get our freight revenue up. But we're going to have a lot of cities. So this is one of those out, not up kind of deals for the most part. Now, the exception is that petroleum, because if we look, here's the other couple things about this scenario. One is we have this special building, and this is another thing. Well, we got to get to 60,000 in Kansas City, so it doesn't matter. I was going to say we couldn't put a museum in, but it doesn't matter. So Standard Oil takes in oil. It produces demand for oil. In fact, it produces a demand for oil of 7 per week, which is excellent. Weekly demand of all cities is 14. So that tells me that there's someplace else that has one of those. Where else? I know Houston doesn't have one. There's got to be another place besides Kansas City. Be nice if it was Amarillo, wouldn't it? No. Probably a coastal city to ship it out to the rest of the world. Brownsville, nope. Corpus Christi, nope. I think what has happened here is it's lying to us. It's telling us there's a 14 demand, but there isn't. We can see there's no other city that has a warehouse like the one in Kansas City. So that's telling us it's going to happen. I think we're getting incomplete facts here, but it's telling us that we're going to be faced with another place to ship the oil, which is great because, we know there's going to be one pop up right down in here that we saw. And these guys over here, we'll see what we want to do with those. All right, so, so what else do we have to do? Connect, the petroleum. I'm sorry, got sidetracked. The petroleum, here, let's take a look. The petroleum, there's no demand for petroleum until we hit 115,000 citizens. So we can do really one of two things here. We can either grow a city to 115,000. So we could pick a city and focus on, like Kansas City, for example, or whatever. Keep growing it and then start shipping petroleum to it. That would create demand for it, but we have to, I believe, produce petroleum. Produce 50 loads of petroleum, or, easy enough, we could pick a city, put a petroleum industry in it. Well, you know what? I take that back. We're going to have to get somebody to 115,000. Why is that? Because we cannot even build the petroleum industry until we hit that point. Because if we look at our industries and we go down here to the refinery, it hasn't popped up yet, and it will not pop up until there's enough population that somebody's demanding it. There is no demand for petroleum right now. If we look at the demand and supply, we go down to petroleum. No one is demanding it right now. There's no demand for it. See, there is a demand. Let's see. See this? Well, let's go back to Kansas City where we can see the oil. We go to Kansas City and go down and look. We can see there is a demand of 14 somehow, even though it's only 7 here. I don't know how that's working. And weekly production, there's a production of 4. And I don't know how that's working because this is a 0.8, so I'm not sure. Those numbers don't all make sense, do they? But they are telling us a few things. So one thing they're telling us, they're telling me to just shut up and start playing. Okay, let's get into this, and maybe it'll become clear to you. But taking this thing apart like this is a good exercise if you really want to get a real good score. Go through these things and figure out what's going on. What are the special events? What's the deal about this one? The deal about this one is that warehouse in Kansas City, finding those oil wells, and also noticing those oil wells are going to pop up later. So let's restart, because we just wasted like July, August, September. We wasted a quarter of time. So let's restart this with the general and have at it. Okay, first thing we want to do is delete that station, because I want to set up my own stations and decide how I want them to look. And one decision we got to make right off the bat is, are we going to try to run these goods into the city directly, or are we going to try to run into a warehouse? This we want direct, because there's a beer industry. We want a direct line here to here as well, because we want the beer meat to flow. And then we want to get these guys lined up and coming in there. And the main one we want to get right off the bat's the wood, because Kansas City is overland going to be able to get these for a while, particularly the corn that's just close by. So it isn't so much that we have to hook up the corn as we have to hook up these logs. But what we have to do is decide, how are we hooking up the logs? And I think what I would like to do, well, first of all, we're going to set up a city-to-city line, of course, but how do I want to do it? What's going to be big enough? We only got 900 grand. I would like signaling control, because it's going to be pretty busy. Let's do a combination of this, a large train station with signaling control, and some sort of warehouse. All right, so we got one there, and we can go small over here, save some money. Okay, so let's run a line between Wichita $71,000. I guess that's cheaper. And let's set our supply tower way down here so we can pick up things that we run in here. All right, and let's do the same thing. In fact, let's just do the same thing. Let's put one down here as well. All right. And that NYC American is really an express train. It's all we've got now. We've got to haul freight with it. Now, we need to get the logs, I would say to start with, the logs and these two into Kansas City. That's 3 items. We're going to want milk as well. 4, 5, shoot. We don't have a lot of money. We can borrow some more. Let's just do a warehouse with signaling control for now. And put it, I'd love to pick that up. Oh, man. A big warehouse would pick it up. All right. That's what we'll do. look at that bridge. Make that bridge as small as we can get it. And certainly get rid of that $200,000 tunnel. And my plan with those supply towers didn't work at all. So we're going to rethink that. Okay, so we reset those lines, and now we've got the supply tower conserved for everybody. Not the world's biggest deal, but a little savings. Pick up corn, logs, sugar. That'll do for now. Okay, so that gives it now into Kansas City. We have corn and we have logs, and we're going to work on wheat next. Once we get the wheat, then we'll make sure we get cattle into Wichita so that we keep a steady supply of meat, and then we'll hook in the corn, and we should have Kansas City in good shape at that point. Okay, let's get sugar going in there, and then we'll have a pretty good start. Okay. Definitely want to get the transportation fee up on freight because we're going to haul a lot of freight to hit that 2.5 million. Look at our research. There's a sweet spot for freight in here somewhere. Let's see, where is it? Right there, right here. We want to work our way over to these guys. So we'll work our research over to these two right here and get those freight bonuses up. So what do we got to do? Grow Kansas City. It should be in very good shape. Connect 4 cities, lay a bunch of track. So, all right, let's connect Salina into this party. And first, let's get there. Okay. Oh, I've got one other thing I want to do first. Need to take care of that cattle and make sure that we've got a steady supply of meat going over to Kansas City. And we even have a connection bonus. How nice. %. We could just run it in there and share it, but we're going to give it its own station. And make that expensive bridge as little as possible. Okay, now we can get Salina into it. And I am trainable. I know it. I now know it's Salina, not Salina. Oh. And even though it's going to share some track with a freight line, I am going to call it a passenger mail only because that's what it's going to be. and give it the right cars. And the same thing with that first one. We'll give it the cars. We'll call it a passenger mail line. We'll just run a couple of them. And now let's see here. We need to get over here toward Amarillo because that's where the action is. That would be a good one to hook up, I think. And we can run right by that oil and set up the possibility of running oil later on. Oh boy. Now the general's going to have to pay for some bridges. I don't know if there's anything we can do about this, because if we try to go all the way down in there, well, that's not bad. Just dig a trench. It does make for a slope here, but what do we got here? Beer. It's going to be a passenger mail line anyway. Is it? Or is that going to be how we're going to eventually run our how are we going to do this? We want to eventually run. See that right there. We got to come back to that milk. Sorry, I'm muttering a little bit. Forgive me. I'm thinking. It's a dangerous thing to do. All right. If we run, I want to run the passenger mail line because I think it's going to be worth the money. And then we'll run a separate line for the oil. And I think the oil is going to come this way. Because we're going to have a connection here. We're going to come this way, connect into this, and probably run the oil into this warehouse because we've got room for oil in here. We can also run the milk into this warehouse as well. So let's set that up. Let's put this in here as milk. Let's see if it'll let us take oil. And oil. Okay. In fact, for the oil, we know we're going to be shipping a ton of it. We'll max it out. All right. Okay, we're looking good on Kansas City. We did what we needed to do there to keep it growing. Oh, and you know what we want to do first? Let's get that bonus. Okay, looks like, yep, Kansas City hit 60. Good deal. And there is textiles. We can run, oh good, we can run textiles along this line and then set up our oil line to be along the same way. And the easiest way to do that, probably, how busy are we here? Barely. All right, we're going to run cotton. We're running cotton and oil into this warehouse. There's a 5 and another, or an 8%, an 8%. There's two 8% bonuses for freight. Anything else good back here? There's a freight right here, but these are tough. 3, 6, 9. Okay, okay. We need about 3 towers on that line. Oh, look at this. Fees per freight. We'll definitely take that. Beautiful. That was over here. We've got the cattle car. We've got this. So there's an 8. There's an 8. We got 2 more 8s. We got 4 8% bonuses so far. So looking good. Market Crier can give us, let's do passengers. Okay, now we've got ourselves an express line set up, and let's start feeding, let's work our way out to the oil. Oh wait, before we do that, we've got one more city to hook in here. There's a nice close one, Raton. That would hook us into this network, which would probably give us some good express traffic as well. So, besides, I love Raton. It's one of my favorite cities. Let's see. Beer to beer, so express line would be natural. Get another station in here so our competitors don't encroach on Amarillo, which I think is going to be a key town for us altogether. Oh boy. %. 2%, 194. That's not awful. And for those of you who aren't experienced players, what I did there was I found that spot where the right in here where I had the little cone, held down shift key and rotated my mouse wheel to drive the track lower and lower until it kind of all straightened out. Because with the General's 20% discount, he doesn't pay extra for the earthworks. He only pays extra for the tunnels and bridges. So the earthworks are expensive, but they're not awful. Plus, we get a nice flat line. We should be able to get an express line there between Amarillo and Raton. And we should get decent traffic because we're hooked into all these cities here. At least that's my theory. We don't want a professor, we want research points. And that security guard should go on one of these guys and give us a bonus on our freight. Okay. See, where were we? 10% gain in research. We'll take that. Okay. Need one more city. Oh, there's a connection bonus to Lubbock. How nice is that? Okay, and I would love to keep going here. It's hard to stop at some point. All right, so what we really want to do though is we need to get into the oil business here, don't we? Yes, we do. We need to build more tracks. So, all right, so let's wrap up part one here. We've grown Kansas City quickly to 60,000, and we've connected 6 cities into our network, and we've set up the infrastructure to continue growing Kansas City, to have a lot of freight revenue, some good passenger and mail revenue, and we're starting to lay the foundations for shipping oil, which is, of course, the heart of this scenario. So we'll take all that up in part 2. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it'll help you become a better player, and I hope you'll join us for our next Railway Empire video. Thank you.